business. The study session that was originally scheduled to be held after tonight's council meeting has been canceled. At 5:30 p.m., we moved here to the first floor chambers to conduct the council business meeting in person. And because we encourage community involvement, we invite the public to join us in person or attend via remote option through Zoom or view on BCAT. In response to previous comments that were not germane to city business and not accepted per the council's rules and procedures, the council will be temporarily modifying the public comment process to only accept written comments. The council wants to ensure there is a safe, respectful, and productive environment that also encourages engagement. Continued discussion is planned to develop updated procedures, and we appreciate your patience. Written comments on business items or any city issue may be sent to city.council@bremertonwa.gov or to 345 6th Street, Suite 100, Bremerton, Washington, 98337. And tonight, councilors Jennifer Chamberlain and Anna Mockler will not be at the meeting. So we will start tonight's meeting with the consent agenda.
Thank you, Council President. For approval on the consent agenda are the following items. A, claims and check register. Approval of the following checks and electronic fund transfers. 1, check numbers 414188 through 414374 and EFT numbers V45736 through V45827, and the grand total amount of $3,132,339.51. 2, regular payroll for pay period ending February 28th, 2026, in the amount of $1,177,374.50. B, minutes of council meeting, March 4th, 2026. C, minutes of study session, March 11th, 2026. D, agreement with Coatings Unlimited for the Reservoir 18 interior and exterior coating replacement project. E, contract modification agreement number 1 with Cummins Inc. for servicing of wastewater lift station generators. F, professional services agreement with Parametrics Inc. for the View Ridge Elementary School Safe Routes to School Phase 2 project. And G, ordinance number 5534 to adopt the City of Bremerton Wastewater Comprehensive Plan Update, November 2025. This concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
Thank you. Written comments were accepted until Tuesday, March 17th at noon at city.council@bremertonwa.gov. We'll go to council for a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, let's vote on the consent agenda.
Councilmember Fry,
Yes.
Camerata,
Yes.
Goodnow,
Yes.
Tift,
Yes.
Rivulowski.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, next we're going to have, this is an opportunity for council members to provide an update on any issues or events taking place in their district, announce any event they've recently attended or plan to attend, or to speak on any other city-related topic.
Council President, I believe it's Mayor's report.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mayor. I'm out of order. So
And
many
humble
ways.
enough to recognize it.
Thank you, Council President Rebelowski. I will be the last one to say you're out of order. So I appreciate always the opportunity to come up and update you and the audience. So, all right, Dave. Now, excuse me, many of you have heard of this this technique that we're going to put out in the community, and it's a quick build. And a little bit of traffic calming on Elmira. You can see the location, which is near the Clement Street intersection. And it's a temporary fix as you'll see in the bullets, ahead of the bigger construction coming our way, the bigger improvements that will also add a lot of pedestrian friendly traffic calming features in it. So just wanted to share that with you, though. It's some innovation on the city's part to kind of address an issue while we're waiting for a more permanent solution. Next slide, Dave. All right, Stephenson Canyon. We had success this legislative session. So this is the dog park we've all been talking about. And to get to the bottom, we want to thank our Representative Tara Simmons for her support in Olympia. Parks and Rec Commission will lead a public outreach process to gather a stakeholder committee to develop the design and some of the features that the community might want to see in a new dog park. That's coming soon, and that part I just mentioned will happen in the fall. Thanks, Dave. City reforestation. A lot of folks don't know, so I make sure that I put up a reminder every year. 39,000 seedlings planted starting the beginning of this month. You can see the reasons what type of tree is planted, and the bullet below that, why. Obviously, forestry does occur, deforesting just for health purposes, health and sustainability of our watershed. That is the main purpose. The fact that we gather revenue from the maintaining these practices is an extra. So the plantings again restore, provide habitat, and as you can see, it just helps with the forest health. So thanks to our staff quietly doing this work every year. Next slide. Now the Sinclair Inlet cleanup. This is something fun for, I was going to say all ages, but they do want you to be 13 and above. So it's an opportunity I've taken with my family. It's a good way to learn about the environment and be a part of the solutions to continue to make it better and better. It's important. There's trash that gets picked up every year. And so this is a good effort by these folks. I encourage everybody in the public to give it a try. There's some contact information down here at the bottom, will.riley, city at Bremerton, wa.gov. So a couple more things on my report tonight. First off, I want everybody to know that I will be a part of recognizing our Bremerton High School state champions. So I'm working with the Kitsap Athletic Roundtable. We'll come up with something soon, make an announcement. They're going to get the recognition that they deserve, and that is our cheer squad and our boys Bremerton basketball team. So that's coming soon. Believe me, we've been working on it. It has not been forgotten. And last, I'm going to read a quick email to you, and I apologize, Councilor Rebelowski, if you were going to give a report on this, but this just came in. It says, Mayor Wheeler and President Rebelowski, thank you both for taking it. This is from Doug Washburn from the county. Thank you both for taking the time to speak with me today regarding the additional funding requests submitted to the Washington State Department of Commerce for shelter services in Kitsap County, including the Salvation Army. I'm pleased to share that we received a contract amendment from Commerce today approving our request. This funding will allow us to extend operations of the Salvation Army night shelter through June 30th, 2027. So this is, and it's contingent upon the Salvation Army's agreement to continue providing services. So anytime we can thank them for this work, we all are on the same page. We should do that. So this is good news. It's hard work. It's partnerships. The county was making the effort and put in for the funding. They exceeded the request. Commerce did exceed the request. So we've been heard. So I just wanted to share that with you and the public tonight. All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, now we're going to move to council member reports, and then don't forget, after we do our reports, council will be discussing the next rule that we're looking at modifying to allow some types of oral discussion from the public at our meetings. But First, we're going to move to council reports. Since this is the last council meeting of the month, we will start with District 7. Councilmember Rick Tiff. Do you have a report for tonight, Rick?
Yes, can you, I think I've got one slide. So I've talked a couple times about the stormwater retrofit project that's going on in actually the dockside development and some other areas around Kitsap Lake, and these are just some recent views. So you can see it's an extraordinarily large project. The first view with the crane you can see on in the excavator, that's the media material that goes into the stormwater vaults, and then the vault itself being lifted. And there was 2 of those in that location. And then finally, the last one, just another example of the large excavators that have been at work there. This project started October 31st, Halloween, actually. They did delay a day to let the kids trick or treat, which was very kind of them, kind of the contractor. But they're about to wrap it up. Most of the street is now back open, and all of these stormwater vaults are covered up. And they're in the process now of buttoning up, doing restoration work, I guess is what it's officially called, with regard to sidewalks and paving and making sure it all works, testing it, and everything that goes with. So this would represent, this is actually the 4th site. There's 3 sites down on Osprey Circle in Kitsap Lake area, and then one over by the garage. And then there was one on Francis Road as well, which was a separate project. But for all the citizens of Bremerton, this will measurably improve the water quality of Kitsap Lake, hopefully making it available for our residents year round, and especially during those hot summer months. This, coupled with the work going on at Kitsap Lake Park, will pay great dividends for all of our citizens. So that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have District 5, Councilmember Michael Goodnow.
So this weekend, a lot of the Charleston businesses showed up for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. You can go to the next slide also. The district wanted to recognize Placeholder Books, Centuries Past Tavern, Typewriter Fever, and the Kitsap Bike Polo Group, who knew, for coming out and proudly representing the Charleston district. It was just great to see the community they've created down there. And then we go one more. And then a reminder, Placeholder Books, they've been doing pop-up bookshops, will debut on March 20th and 21st, the 20th 6 to 9, 21st 9 to 3 p.m. at the People's Exchange. That is on Callow, just around the corner from like Cafe Corvo. And then if you're interested in donating books, you can, it's on there right there. Placeholder, that looks like a typo. I'm sure it's placeholders book. I don't know. You could try that. Let me look in here. Placeholderbooks@gmail.com I have here. And then, yeah, the
Instagram's weird.
Yeah, that's what I have typed here too, but and that's, I think, on my last slide. Yeah. So yeah, the parade, I don't know if you're gonna report much on the parade, but it was a great parade. I was able to walk in the first group, well, in the first batch of us. I didn't play the bagpipes, in case you were thinking, but walked with my council members, and we almost made it back in time for me to jump in. I had to run a little bit and was able to finish up the parade with the Pride group. And we carry this 20-foot Pride flag in the parade. But the thing a lot of people don't know about that Pride flag is 2 things I'll tell you. One, it's 8 colors, because when the Pride flag was designed, they wanted it to have 8 colors, and pink and teal were not readily commercially available as fabric in sort of that polyester flag material. It was designed by a man named Gilbert Baker. So on the 25th anniversary of the sign of the flag, they made a 1.5 mile long flag and draped it over the entire island of Key West. So one end was in the Atlantic Ocean, and one end was in the Gulf of Mexico. And then they had this like thing where community groups could apply for a piece of the flag, and I did. And we've had some invitations to reunite. Of course, it would be all on my own dime to travel with a giant flag to like Washington, DC. They invited us last year. They did offer I could just send it, but I said no. I'm not having an unaccompanied minor flag. So anyways, it was a great parade. The weather turned out for us, and very few injuries. So, all right, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. And next, excuse me, is District Council Member Christy Camarada. Tell us about District 3.
So in the past 2 weeks since the last city council meeting, I've been trying to get out in my district a little bit more, be to places that I haven't yet been to. And some of them, like the Puget Sound Navy Museum, I have to own the embarrassment of I'd never been there. So this one was one day, I just decided to take some time off of work. And I took myself out to the Puget Sound Navy Museum. They were nice enough to invite me out, give me a tour of the museum, which I absolutely loved, and found out 2 wonderful things. 1, the museum is completely free. And 2, the entrance is on the side, which was one of the reasons why I didn't go to the museum multiple times. I thought that what you see in that white building was the entrance. And I was like, oh, the doors aren't open today. It must be a different day. It's on the side. So I had to own that one, and they had a very good laugh at that they were like, really? And I was like, I haven't like walked up to the building, but it was like walking around to the ferry terminal and you're like, oh, it's closed. I would go, but it's closed. Nope, it's open. It's on the side. It was amazing. And one of the big things, my husband was previously in the Navy. And it's one thing to hear the stories of, some of the conditions of things, or like what it's like to be on a boat for an extended period of time. Down on the bottom there is the bunking situation that you can actually see. And it was three folks high. And so that was amazing to understand. He had told me I spent 9 months on a boat, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love cruises. And it was one of those things where you see that and you're like, oh, I had something different in my mind. So it's an amazing opportunity for family, or if, you are a current member of the base and you would like to explain to your family members that sometimes words don't help and they need to actually physically see. Amazing place to go to have that understanding, and just an amount of pride in those that served before, understanding the history of the area. It is quite amazing. And they had a really, really neat kids room that's right there in the center, nice and bright with that submarine. Just amazing experience for all ages. And then you'll see the and on here, because personally I have a little problem of doing one thing. So if I come downtown, I'll tell you I'm going to do one thing. I never do. I end up with the and. So my and was I walked down from my house over in Manette to the Puget Sound Navy Museum, and on the way home stopped at El Bacone Bremberger, who I think they might be Bacone 360 right now. I'm not sure of the naming of it. However, I have found that from that location, I live 3/4 of a burrito away. So that is now how I'm going to measure things. That is how long it took me. And I got to come home and be like, look, I saved you some, because I don't live close. Like I live close enough that I still had some left over. It was amazing, and is definitely something that I loved treating myself like that. And it was amazing walking through the city with just an absolute giant burrito with just shameless. And it was wonderful. My next slide, which is also an and. So this actually happened on March 6th. So I put the flyer on there because the next year when this happens, it was so much fun to do this. I did not realize how much fun this was going to be. So in these photos, like one of them that's hidden in there is my kids actually creating their lanterns for this. So we just ordered some generic white ones on Amazon and they were able to decorate them, did a much better job than my decorating of them. And then we all met at Quincy Square and we had the lantern parade. And so it was actually led by, I noticed the mayor there who got there on time. I did not, so I got to do another walk of shame this week of running to the back with multiple kids and lanterns. But we wouldn't change that for the world because they started on time and we got to run through Quincy Square trying to keep up with them. And my kids have decided we will never be on time again. Running through, trying to keep up with the mayor was hysterical. We had the best time. So that was something that, for something we thought we were just going to do as a fun event on a Friday, the kids have already asked when the next one was because that was so much fun. And being at the end of it was a lot of fun too, because we were picking up people as we went. And sometimes they had no idea what we were doing. They just wanted to join the group. And that's what was so much fun and so Bremerton about it. Did not need to know what the event was, just wanted to be a part of it. And it was just a blast. And again, because I can't do just one thing, Volka's Market was still open. So when we were done with the light parade, we went into their new building. They're on the corner, right at the end of Quincy Square by Pacific, and were amazed and walked out with full grocery sacks, but full of just wonderful and lovely goodies that we had. So if you hadn't stopped by there yet, I hadn't been into their new location, and it is amazing. If you stop in for one thing, you're leaving with 5 things. It's just because you've never seen items like this and you're like, well, I must try this, including fig salami, which is not salami. It is completely fig. It was fig and pistachio with black pepper. It's just formed like salami, so you can cut it on your charcuterie boards. It is vegan and it is delightful. And it was a brand new product that will be one that's in my house all the time. So that is my report and adventures.
Well, thank you. Sounds like you've been having a lot of fun the past couple weeks.
Been adventuring.
Okay. Next up is Council Vice President and District 2 Council Member Denise Fry.
Yes, thank you. I've got a couple of slides tonight. I want to acknowledge our Public Works Department. I love this pic. I took it just yesterday. We're getting a lot of curb cuts in this area on Sylvan. And it's kind of in advance of the Safe Routes to School project. I know the woman that lives in this particular home. You might notice the Viewcrest Village sign has been run into. That's probably the 12th time it's been run into. She very much appreciates the curb cuts and hopes that it doesn't accelerate the cars, she said, coming in. I assured her they had speed bumps on them as well, but yeah, I appreciate, you drive around and you see these crews taking care of these things, and we don't realize the impact that's going to have on individual people. And the woman that lives in that particular home is in a wheelchair, and this means a lot to her. This makes a big difference to her. So thank you, Public Works. And, the mayor let you know about the quick build traffic calming measures that Public Works is going to try out. We're going to try these out on Elmira. And that's very exciting. And when the mayor says, they are listening to the community. And, when the community asks questions like, why can't we do a quick build, before we're waiting for these more permanent improvements? And, Public Works listens and, asks themselves the same questions. So I really want to give a shout out. It feels wonderful to be able to watch that engagement with the community and then see it really come to fruition. Next slide, please. Talking about engagement with the community, I also want to give a shout out to those in the community that write in and let us know about things. This came in this week. This is one of the several pictures that was provided to council as part of an email from a constituent that lives up by the old Harrison Hospital site, and she walks that area, and she's very concerned because the plastic sheeting is blowing out from the fence. In some places, the fencing has completely come down. And now the plastic has disintegrated and is coming down into our storm drains. And so she wrote to me, I want you all to know how this all happens. She wrote to me directly because it was a significant occurrence, and I felt that this information had to be shared immediately. I sent it right away to city staff, and I also sent it to the head of St. Michael Medical Center, and they got right on it. They obviously don't have staff there anymore every day. Didn't realize this was going on. As a hospital and a healthcare organization, they're very concerned about anything like this. So I want to assure my constituents that I'm on it. I'm bird dogging it. I'm asking questions. When is that contractor going to be out? What's going to be the mitigation? All of this, but we can't do this without you. So please, use the Bremerton One app, write into your council member, write into just city council, just let it communicate, let us know something is happening, and we will try to get it rectified as soon as we possibly can. But this isn't Public Works problem. I want to tell you that. This is the property owner's issue, and we were the communication piece with this. So this doesn't certainly fall to our Public Works department to clean up, but our permitting department very definitely is interested in that, because of course cleanups and so forth have to have permits. We're on it. We're looking at it. We'll make sure that it's taken care of. And thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Public Works, for your support with this.
Thank you. Next up is my report. It's pretty brief. I think I have a slide. So tomorrow, both Councilmember Goodnow and I are hosting a budget workshop. And it's going to be held in the lower level of City Chapel, which is on the corner of 13th Street and Lincoln. It's going to start at 5:30, run to about 7. Our finance director is going to be there. He's going to give a brief explanation of what things we have to fund, and then things that the community would like us to consider funding if we can fit it in the budget. So everybody will have the opportunity to pick up to 3 things that you really want the city to concentrate on. And so I hope to see you. It's open to everybody in the city, not just people who live in districts 4 and 5. So 5:30 tomorrow at City Chapel. And then next, I just have a brief statement. We got several emails from people who are upset with some things that one of our council members said, and she apologized for him at a city council meeting. She's apologized at a lot of other meetings that she's attended. She knows the words that she used were a very poor choice. And I just wanted to let you know she's done a lot of things behind the scenes to help the unhoused, and she regrets what she says. And I think that there's times when we should give people a little bit of grace for saying something stupid. And she admits that she did, but there's a strong group of people, a lot who don't live in the city of Bremerton, who are doing a letter writing campaign against her. And I think we should all kind of sit back and think about things that we've regretted that we've done and hope to do better. So that's my report for tonight. And now we're going to move on to our one general business item. And this was the item that we were going to move upstairs and have a study session, but I think it's very appropriate for us to do it down here. So A, you don't have to shuffle up there. And B, there was a lot of technical difficulties in having 2 meetings where we'd all have to sit around for an hour in between. So first I'm going to start off by reading you what the rule actually says. So this is rule number 9, section 3, currently called public recognition, which is kind of misleading because when people come up and comment on like an agenda item or general business or zoning issue, that's called public comment. And so a lot of people, me included, get these terms misplaced. So number one, I want to find a new name for it instead of calling it public recognition. And so all of this discussion that we're having tonight, we're hoping that the public writes in letters to us with their comments of what they think we should and shouldn't do. Because, well, after I read this section to you, which I don't have the whole thing. That's about 5 pages long. So I'm hoping that a lot of you are looking at this online where we have it on our agenda bill. But basically, we have in place rules that are extremely difficult to enforce. We ask that people be respectful. We can't enforce that you're respectful. We get a lot of comments from people who watch our meetings and say that they'll never come in person because of the way they're hearing things either via Zoom or comments that some people are making in the audience. So we're really hoping that if and when we change these rules, that people remember that and either take care of it yourself, that you're not acting in that way, or remind other people that we have to maintain a little bit of decorum. Because any changes that we do make, and I'm sure most of you who are in here have witnessed some of the really awful Zoom calls that we've gotten. And people are under the impression that I can stop them or that our IT staff can stop them. If we're under the state law, if we're allowing anybody in the actual audience here to speak, we have to allow Zoom comments to come in. And they changed that law. The intention was for people that were housebound or didn't have a vehicle or were rushing home from work would have the opportunity to speak at a public meeting. But what it's turned into by some is a way to run their political agenda by coming in and saying nasty things about different religions or people's sexual identity or people's race. And once people start talking, I can't stop them. So you got to keep that in mind. So when you're commenting, we've also put up the ACLU's rules on our website for their interpretation of the state of Washington's rules for open for comments at public meetings. And they're different than what other states. A lot of people have sent us letters calling out what the state of California allows. Washington does not allow the same thing that the state of California. We're different than the state of Missouri. So please, before you write us a letter, review those because it might answer some of your questions. So my main focus tonight is to hear from all of the council members who are present what their suggestions of how we should function with public comment. And those would be things that aren't on the agenda or are not a business matter, and we're not talking about the consent agenda or if we have a public hearing, it's strictly at the, it used to be at the very beginning of the meeting where people could come up and the intent was to talk about concerns they have with the city itself. Like if they have a problem getting a permit or if there's potholes in their road or that sort of thing, and it's kind of devolved. So I want to go around the dais and see what everybody's thoughts are on suggestions, because we're going to continue our discussion next week at our study session. But the reason we're doing this tonight is to give the public the opportunity to write us with their suggestions of how they would like us to either change or go back to the way it was, or how we can modify it. So can we start with our council vice president with your comments?
First of all, I think it's good that we're doing this, and I'm sorry it's taken so long, but in some ways it hasn't taken that long. It's an important process to go through for us to make sure to balance the needs of everybody involved. We need to bring back the public's ability to address the council here in chambers. And so as far as public, I feel strongly about that. I believe that they should have that access here in person. And I think there are some ways that we can moderate that, the timing of it, you know, where it happens on the agenda. When I first came into council, one of the first things that we did was we moved it to the front of the agenda. It was at the back of the agenda or near the end of the meeting. And we decided we were so concerned and wanting to hear from the public, you know, and so we moved it to the very beginning of the meeting. You know, so that's one thing that we could look at. Should we move it back to after we conduct business and then we hear from things that are not business related or agenda related? So I'd be supportive of entertaining something like that. And then the time limits, you know, I used to be a public speaker. That's what I did in the social service sector. I did educational programs, and 3 minutes is a long time. And so I think that limiting that time as well, and we've talked about this, some have said 2 minutes, some have said, you know, 90 seconds. I'm more comfortable with 90 seconds just because, again, I'm familiar with how long that 3 minutes is. And you can actually make your point very sufficiently about just about anything in 90 seconds. So things like that, ways like that, I'd like to zero in as a council and make those decisions so that we can engage with our public once again. I do miss that, believe it or not. I do miss it. And I think it's an important part of our responsibility. So that's kind of where I am tonight about it.
Thank you. Councilmember Camerata, do you have any? Yeah, we're just going down the line. Sorry.
I don't have a difference of opinion between what we had talked about with the public comment section. And again, just as a reminder, that is when we have an agenda item or something that is on the agenda that can be discussed. The suggestion that I had last week when we were talking about that at study session was 90 seconds. And I loved Councilmember Goodnell's suggestion that we should think of that as a starting point of that 90 seconds and see how that feels. If it's, you know, if people aren't able to get their point across and all of that, it's not set in stone. So I absolutely love that suggestion from last week. And I'm saying it only because we read this, but that came from you. And I don't, personally, I don't believe that there should be a difference in how we do public comment versus how we do public recognition. My opinion would be the same for those two. So I don't have any suggestions that are anything different. As far as the calling it public recognition, I do like the possible name change to that, because even then I thought we were recognizing the public for something, not allowing the public to speak. And so that was kind of confusing. So if we can change the name, I'm all for it, but I have no suggestions right now.
Okay.
I just found out we can do that. I was like, yeah, that's a terrible name. So,
Councilman Goodnow, do you have any?
Yeah, so,
There.
I don't know if you mentioned in your opening, intro to this, but it is absolutely not required. So it, but that being said, I think we all, enjoy hearing from folks, directly. And I think we've missed not having it. But on the flip side, it has been, can be very disruptive. It can really throw off your mindset. It's a business meeting and it can really kind of, put, I don't know, sand in the gears of, what we're hoping is going to work. So I think for me, maybe big picture is about 50% of my time here. It was at the beginning and 50% of my time we had it towards the end of the meeting. And the real reason it was moved was just to, out of respect for residents. So some of these meetings go, as you may know, till 10 p.m. And that can be, if you just want to say like, hey, we're having a bake sale, that's a big commitment. Something else that we haven't talked about a whole lot, but I'd be open to also is maybe it'd always be the first Wednesday of the month where there's sort of this sort of open town hall sort of, come to the mic and speak. But I would definitely like to see it back as it was mentioned. I'd like to maybe ease back into it. So the 90 seconds feels pretty comfortable. And, the you're coming and making, again, you're not commenting on anything going on. It is about city business. It is city business, that our open mic night is for city business. And you're coming there and, if you get your thoughts together and say, my concern is this and this, and then maybe amplify a little bit. I think there's plenty of time there. And it's really to get something in front of us. We're not going to have a discussion with you at that time. Hopefully we'll set up a meeting. I can't tell you how many times that the chair has said, can you please make sure before you leave tonight, we have your contact information? Or literally, I've seen maybe the mayor walk over and talk to somebody or grab a department head and take somebody over to somebody. So we want to hear, 'cause there's just times that you want to be heard, and we want to hear that. So I want us to have this and I want us to come together as a community and make it work. So I think that's all I have for right now.
Thank you. Councilmember Tip.
Okay, I agree that we need an opportunity for the public to speak to the council. With that said, I also want to make comment that the written comments that have come in have been very valuable to me, because those written comments have been well thought out. The commenters had an opportunity to put their thoughts together. And I think that I know myself, and I'm sure all of our council members do read those letters. So the written comment process that we've had in place now since I joined the council in January have worked well. With regard to the time, I'm more on the end of 2 minutes, but 90 seconds would be fine as long as we have the opportunity to adjust it if it isn't working out. I'd also like to see, I guess, a little bit of structure. So when you walk in, if you'd like to speak to the council, that there's like a roster you signed so that council president can say, okay, next we'd like to hear from so-and-so, and so that there's some order and process rather than just lining up. So I'm not sure how well that would work, but I think that would bring some order to the evening. As far as distinguishing between agenda items, I was on the planning commission and we distinguished between just basically comments that did not pertain to an item on the agenda as opposed to comments directly related to an agenda item. So I think there's some merit to that, and because it is about city business. So if we have a citizen that would like to comment on, you know, if we were doing something with the stormwater plan, that they would keep their comments appropriate or applicable to that agenda item, because that's what we want to hear about. And then separately, of course, just the open comments from the floor. And I too, similar to council member Camarada, when I first heard the name public recognition, I thought it was, gee, I want to give a shout out to the Boy Scouts, you know, recognizing good things in the public that the council ought to hear about. We get that from the mayor oftentimes, but there may be some really important things in our neighborhoods that, you know, we ought to be aware of. So I guess the bottom line is we've heard many letters that the public would like a chance to speak directly to us. So I'm in favor of somehow returning that opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Goodnow has some other comments.
Yeah, I'm glad Councilmember Tift brought up the roster, because I would like to also have something in place where the chair, you would, you know, whether it's for an item or for the public, could have there'd be a roster so that maybe be due to subject matter, maybe could grant everybody on one, you know, if we're talking public recognition, possibly a little extra time, or if there's a large number of folks, we might, maybe the chair could bring it down, but it would just, would it really help to manage that? You know, we often have more than 10 folks speak. And if you're giving folks 3 minutes, that's already a half hour, and easily could have 20 people speak in an evening. So we just want to be respectful of everybody's time. And we want to hear the message. And if the time being shorter, it helps for somebody to come up with a succinct message to get across. And again, it's hopefully starting a conversation. So I just wanted to add that I did support the idea of a roster, and then the chair can use that to call folks up, and can also use it to work in the online folks waiting.
So I want to comment on your comment. We could have a roster, but we can't require a roster. So, and then sometimes when you're sitting in the audience and you hear somebody say something about an issue, all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know, I disagree, or I have another thought on it. So I think for actual business items, or things that are on the specific agenda, that might make sense, especially if it's 90 seconds and it's a business item. Start off with yes or no, and then your why. Because if you only have 90 seconds, you might not be able to get to your yes or no, and then it's easier for us to keep track of everybody's opinion out there. We've had suggestions of having people register, you know, where they live and all that. I mean, I hope that we get comments from people who live in the city of Bremerton. I mean, I've lived through meetings where people from the city of Bainbridge Island call us and tell us what they think we should be doing. And I kind of roll my eyes at them. I mean, maybe they have some good thoughts, but really, this is the city of Bremerton, and we are your representatives. We're not representatives of people who live in the county or people who live in Port Orchard. And I'm not saying that they can't state their opinion, but our main goal is to help people who live in Bremerton itself. I'm very much into no more than 90 seconds to start. I still want to make sure people know that as soon as we open this up again, it'll be a mini version of what happened on January 7th, where for 9 minutes, we had to listen to somebody spout out racist, vile things for 9 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes at a time, but you know, that at least now it would be down to half that amount of time. Because people like to do that, because if we do shut them off, then they can turn around and sue the city, and people make a living off of doing things like that. So I'm really looking forward to people in Bremerton sending us letters telling us if they have a better name to call instead of open mic, which is kind of how we refer to it sometimes, because that really is what it is, you know, you can talk about any subject, but we're hoping you're talking about subject matter specific to the city of Bremerton. And then I wanted to make sure people were aware that if you're trying to complain about a staff member or a council member, there is an official way to do that. And nobody from HR is sitting listening to these meetings. So if you have an issue with a staff member, you can send it an email and get forwarded to HR and they will review it. If you have a problem with a council member, you can send it to our council office and our office manager will review it with myself and the council vice president, and we'll see if we should move it forward, if it's got merit. And then we will bring it to the rest of the council and say, you know, we got this complaint and this is what the person's asking for, and we get their opinion. So please send us letters about names for open mic, anything about public comment, which is everything besides open mic. And then if you have different comments on how we should address what has been called public recognition, if you think it's at the beginning of the meeting, at the end of the meeting, at the end of general business, before we do our council reports. But I know you all want to sit and listen to them, but you know, but let us know how you want us to do it, and please respect the ACLU's guidance on what the state laws of Washington are for commenting at a public meeting. Is there anybody else on the dais who wants to make a comment? Councilman Tiff.
This is Councilman Tift. The written comments, I just want to, again, highlight those that have been very valuable. So that is a good opportunity to reach us when we're not sitting up here. And as I indicated, they're great. Frankly, I found them to be very certainly keep using the right word, but they've been important for me in understanding issues that come from the public. So please don't stop sending those in on particular agenda items for the city.
So the agenda is published typically Friday afternoon. Sometimes we do have to amend it, but normally we don't amend it with a new big item. That would just be like an emergency item if it was something major. Moving things around on the agenda, yeah, that's gonna happen. So if you can get us your comments by Tuesday afternoon, if you want us to consider them at our next meeting. So we do study sessions the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month, and we do council business meetings on the first and third Wednesday of the month. So consider Tuesday at noon deadline if you want to make sure we see them, because they have to process them. A lot of times we don't get emails for 24 hours sometimes. So does anybody else in council have any other comments? Things to consider? Okay, well, just as a reminder, we will be coming back to the March 25th study session for further discussion in combination with the consensus we reached on public comment from last week's study session. And this concludes tonight's regular council business. Meeting is adjourned.